Tamang, and I'm from the MSc in Health and International Development. So my question is, how do MSc students who identify as from the Global South in the health and international development perceive and experience development studies at the LSE? So my motivation for this question really came from interacting with my other Global South peers, and they expressed, their limited space within the development studies here at the LSE. So I wanted to dive deeper into the classroom experience. My methodology, I did two focus group discussions and one one-to-one interview with 7 MSc students from the health and international development in Zoom. And I used thematic analysis to derive at my findings. So really one of the, one of the most prevalent theme that came in my finding was a power dynamic. I'll let you read the quote yourself while I define what I mean by power dynamic. So many of my many of my participants felt that there were hierarchies of voices within the development studies, with white voices being the gold standard. And so this really stemmed from the lack of representation in the classrooms of Global South students and as well as professors, which meant that minority voices were being drowned, and also minority Global South perspectives were sort of pushed to the sides. And as previous groups in the decolonizing academia have mentioned, there was generally a lack of representation in the curriculum as well. And so this really leads me to my next theme of double burden, where there was a huge assumption that the responsibility to explain Global South challenges fell on the Global South students. And whenever in a certain region or questionnaire or came from their respective country, their peers turned to them for an answer, or would message them privately. And so this resulted in sort of extra work that they didn't sign up for. And as a result, they felt exhausted and shut off towards the end of the term. So, and this leads to my next point of a theme of fetishization of underdevelopment, where people's lived experiences and trauma were seen as exotic and fascinating, and whereas here in the separation of those personal and subjective experiences into more analytical tool, in separation of that academia from the real cost of human emotions. So they felt that the reality of development is different out there versus what was being taught here in their classrooms and in the departments. So this leads to my next point, where many of the Global South peers shared a concern about the level of education or the types of education they were receiving. And they were concerned that, obviously they will go into the development field and work, and they hope that they don't perpetuate the same, colonial mentality, lack of diversity and nuance that they experience in their classrooms. So many of the students that I spoke to, or my participants that I spoke to, encounter many challenges, and so thus they turn to other Global South students for solidarity. Turn to seek emotional support, but although this is positive, this was due to departmental support that offered challenges that rose specifically from having Global South identity, and as a result, this led to emotional labor for other students from the Global South, and it was taking time away from actually spending more on their academic progress. So my recommendation would be really training professors on how to better understand the experience of their Global South students, intro into wide environmental meetings with all students on the dangers of fetishization, on underdevelopment, and also decolonization from the Global South perspective, and not really rely on the Global South student to teach their peers, which adds into like the double burden phenomenon that I just spoke about. And also having a paid Global South student liaison for peer support, because they felt that they couldn't turn to other Global North peers to relay their concerns, and also they couldn't turn to the department because there was a lack of diversity, professors coming from the Global South. So I think having a paid Global South student liaison would better, help cope with the double burden and extra cost of emotions. Working with the counseling department to have Global South representation of counselors, I think that would really take away the burden from other Global South peers as well, and also increase funding towards hiring more Global South students, professors in the International Development Department, and also increase scholarships for Global South students. One of the most concerning finding was that there was just lack of diversity, lack of representation within the classrooms. And as I've mentioned earlier, increase Global South scholars in the reading list as well. And I think previous groups in decolonizing academia showed data on how lacking it was of over 80 to 90% of the scholars that they encountered was Global North white scholars. So yeah, this concludes my presentation, and if you have any questions, I'll look forward to it later. Thank you.